It's Just the Stats, Reggie Johnson, Eugene Morgan coming to you from Love City of Atlanta, Georgia. And Eugene, there is trouble with the Dallas Cowboys right now. And you know what's crazy is the trouble comes right after writing these checks. Dallas wrote a couple of checks, and it took Jerry a little bit too long to write them, in my opinion. Like you should have probably wrote those checks a little bit earlier. Would have saved themselves some money. But you know how they like to wait to the last minute there, in Dallas, and that's what happened this past time with Dak and CD. They finally get their money, and now you run to the injury issues. They don't really look great, even when he wasn't injured. They're not winning games. You got Micah saying that he feels more sorry for the older players on the team than Mike McCarthy. He says they have put in, I'm paraphrasing here, but they have put in more time than Mike McCarthy ever has, put in more work than Mike McCarthy ever has now. And Micah, to his credit, has come on his show. He has a podcast as well. And he's gone on to a show and defended those statements, kind of saying, hey, he's a winning coach, a Super Bowl winning coach. I'm not taking a shot at him. I'll just bring up the fact that, you know, he can go to any team and, you know, some of these other guys can't. I think that the end of the day, what made that situation sound personal with Micah is the than he ever has comment. He added that at the end. More work than Mike McCarthy ever has. And when you say something like that, Eugene, it just sounds like I don't know. If you're like, hey, well, it's more than Eugene ever has, and attach anything to that, you're like, wait, what? Whoa, what? Like more than I ever had. Like, you know, so, and especially I will also stick up for some of these coaches, even though some of them aren't great or they're not getting the result they want on the field. A lot of times they're still putting in the work. They're still missing time from their family. They're still there a certain amount of hours, and they're still trying to get after it. They're just not being able to put it all together. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they're at home playing video games with their kids on the couch. You know, I mean, they're there trying to get after it, and maybe it just doesn't go the way that it's supposed to. But that seat definitely getting hot for Mike McCarthy. Doesn't seem like Micah Parsons has a lot of sympathy for that situation. What's your thoughts on the Cowboys?
Well, you saw it. I mean, the defense has taken a step back since they lost Quinn.
Man, they missed Dan Quinn, man. I think so.
They really do. And I'm very happy. I wasn't a huge Dan Quinn fan, but I mean, I always liked him. I wasn't like a huge fan, but it's like, it's nice to see.
Respectable, man.
He's respectable.
I've always respected Dan Quinn.
Right.
I've always respected him.
Exactly. And now you're seeing what he's doing in Washington. It's like that team, they're just fun, you know, probably like a year or two away, right? From getting to the playoffs. I mean, probably might get here this year, but you know, we'll have to see. Same with Mike McCarthy. He's one of those coaches. I think he just succeeded because he had really good talent around him, that type of thing. I mean, there was a huge margin for error, right? When you have so much talent around you, and he was always lucky with that type of deal. Mm-hmm. And you know, he always had good assistants. And you can see, look where they're at now. They lose Dan Quinn. They kind of blame everything on Kellen Moore. Look at him. Look at Moore now. He's Philadelphia's offensive coordinator. What are they doing this year?
In a better place, for sure.
Right. They're in a much better place, right?
Same thing, like you said, Quinn and him as well. They both are.
Right. So now again, we always see that too. I mean, it's tough to replace coordinators, especially when you have top defensive, top offensive. Look at Philadelphia last year, right? They lost two of their coordinators, and they struggled.
Yeah, it seemed like they definitely struggled as a result.
Right. So I mean, I just feel like I really feel like we were just waiting a year for this job to be replaced, either with Vrabel or with anybody else, you know, and that, you know, I just didn't. It was like it's like you kind of feel like it was going to come at some point. They're going to replace the position, or we replace the coach.
Well, do you think there's any buyer's remorse on the contracts, or do you think that, hey, this is just the way that things kind of shake out? You know, Micah's got a contract negotiation coming up here soon.
No, I mean, you have to sign talent. I think the one thing they didn't do was they did not address the running back situation. I mean, that Derrick Henry was sitting right there. Derrick Henry was sitting. I mean, was there just a more perfect guy for?
Jerry says they're not interested, man. Jerry
I
says we
know,
think that Zeke's got something left in the tank.
right?
Just Jerry
Zeke,
said.
right? And I think they kicked the
I think they just
tires
suspended
on.
Zeke just now.
Right.
He was suspended fairly recently. He's back, I think now, but I know that he was out for missing something. Something had happened, and it was disciplinary reasons, maybe being late to practices, something of
Right.
that
He's been like,
nature.
yeah. So you got that, and you're trying to replace with, I think Della Cook made an appearance, and then I think they do
They're
have it.
running the kid Rico Dowdle out there, man.
He's decent, but I mean, again, you kind of found that during the season, and you kind of didn't have that kind of projected at the beginning of the season. So, yeah, you run all those factors. It's like it's like they're the Cowboys. They're gonna spend money. They're gonna find ways to get back to it. I just unfortunately, this is the year it bit them, right? Because Dak is out for the rest of the year, and you almost could see the writing on the wall that CD's gonna be pretty much joining him soon. Like some kind of injury's gonna come up. Like he's gonna
You
miss the
think
rest of
so?
the year.
You think they're gonna bench him or something? Like you think
I
they're
mean,
gonna try to like soft bench him? Like
I would.
he's got
What's
a
the point?
back injury and just hold him out for
Exactly.
7 weeks.
Yeah, I would. I don't want I'm sorry. I don't want my number one star receiver getting murdered by Cooper Rush or John
Cooper, I think Cooper had a winning record, but I you know what's crazy is let's look at that record. 'Cause I think I had looked at. Let's look at the record because what is their record? Let me see if I can find it, man.
like 2-7, 3-7, something like that, or
I gotta look for it because I just had it not here too long ago. Gotta make sure it doesn't pop up somewhere else where I'm not expecting it to. But I feel like the record is not bad, but at the same time, when you look at what he's done so far this season, it's like his last game, because he's only started one game, right? It's only really been one game.
who's CD?
Cooper.
Oh, sorry. I was like, okay, sorry. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm just saying I just wouldn't want my number one receiver. That's just me, if the season's already a wash at this point, why would I want my number one receiver going out there?
All right. Dallas Cowboys record with Dak Prescott is 73-41 regular season. Cooper Rush, 4-2. Okay, it's not terrible.
No, it's a good backup. He's like
and
you
then,
said, Cooper Rush is a good
when
backup.
Prescott missed 2021, missed a game. Okay, so game in 2021, and then in 2022. All right. So it looks to me here, he seems like we'll back up. But at one point in the game, though, we were looking at a situation where I think there was like 40 yards total offense. Let's look at that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's pull up the stats here for the last game because it wasn't a ton. It wasn't exactly an offensive display of force. I will say that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Let's go, players. Go. All right, Cooper Rush here. Okay. It's just so that just so you guys know that I'm not lying here. Let's put this on the screen for people who could see it on the screen. What number do you see next to Cooper Rush there, my friend? It is a 2-digit number to give you to help you out there. There's a number right next to Cooper Rush that does not look like it could possibly be accurate. Rico Dowdle has more yards rushing. So that number is 45.
Yeah.
For the audience that can't see. 4-5. So he does have a winning record from what we had just brought up, but 45 yards is still 45 yards, right? It's not setting the world on fire, man. It's not going to do it. It's not going to do it. So that's probably why you would bench a CD Lamb, but you just paid him all that money, man, right? Like, I don't recall when Justin Jefferson loses his QBs. He's been running out there. They were running him out there anyway, no matter who's under center out there in Minnesota. I feel they're going to probably do the same thing with CD because they were running CD out there in 2022, right? When Dak wasn't there for that. I feel like he was playing during those rush
right,
games.
but there was a point where he was going to come back, though. I think that was the idea, right? I think Dak was going to come back.
So basically what you're saying is since it's a foregone conclusion that he's not going back, since it's decided that he's not coming back, then you're thinking maybe you handle this situation a little bit differently.
I would, yeah. I mean, there's really the record right there is 3-6. There's no way you're leapfrogging any team to get in the playoffs. And what are you leapfrogging to? What, a number 7 seed to play who either wins. Either you're going to play the Falcons or you're going to play maybe one of the West Division winners out of that. So in a wild card game, it just doesn't
Tough.
make sense. It's like just to make the playoffs. The Cowboys have always been, Super Bowl or bust kind of team or organization. But it's kind of funny since they haven't won one since '95. But I don't know. I just don't see the reason to throw them out there. I mean, the season is kind of where it is right now. I mean, maybe you play it game by game and you see, but they're not. If you're stacking them in this NFC conversation, you're not looking at them as a playoff team or even a contender or just a team that might make some noise in the playoffs. You just don't. You're not looking at a team going, I think they can, do something in the playoffs or maybe win a game.
You're absolutely right.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely right. I have nothing for that. We're gonna move on to different subjects because I can't even counter that with anything. There's absolutely they're not doing anything. No. I mean, unless Cooper Rush comes out and just performs a miracle, this team is because the team is struggling with Dak. It's just hard to see them not struggling without him. Moving on to another team that's struggling. I looked up a stat here earlier. I'll put it up on the screen here for people that can see, and I'll read it out for people that can't. So Matt Eberflus is 0-18 on road games on Sunday. Now let's read that stat one more time for people. Matt Eberflus is 0-18 on road games on Sunday. He has not won a single one. This is incredible. So this stat right here, and they break down here. This is good. This is a Reddit post here breaking it down, but you can look this up. I had a friend send me another one of another stat like this only because it's so incredible. There's several floating around out there. If you're looking for memes or images of the 0-18 Matt Eberflus, you will not be starving out there. There's a million out there because the stat is just incredible. The stat is incredible.
Enough content out there.
There's plenty of content for you to consume if you want Matt Eberflus hate right now because 0-18 is incredible. And the thing is 0-18. He's not 0-18 guys in the sense that he's not won a game, but 0-18 on Sundays, on road games. That means you've never won on the road on Sunday. Never. You've been coaching for 3 years. You never won on the road on Sundays. They said he's won on Monday games, won Thursday games, but he's never won on the road. Now, with what we got here going with Caleb Williams looking like he's taking a serious step back here. They just fired Shane Waldron.
Yep.
The offensive coordinator. What's your thoughts here on the super hot seat that the 0-18 road winning coach here?
I mean, too much talent to be this bad. It's you just see other teams just build around their quarterbacks the right way, especially the young quarterbacks. I mean, you and I, we've experienced the Bo Nix, SEC. We've seen him, but if you look at what he's been a pretty competent quarterback, right? And then just like they play to his strengths. They don't ask him to do a lot. They have a good defense around him, and it's just like you have talent around Caleb. Like get it's like. It's just some of the offensive calling you're just watching and going, it's like, I just liked what it's a difference with Jaden Daniels. Like when they brought him in, they're like, what plays do you like?
Yeah, Kingsbury said that he kind of catered things to his situation there. Everything that he liked to do, what he does, he's like, does well.
Yeah. And so what do? You build on those certain plays he likes. And then as he gets more comfortable in just playing quarterback, you introduce some other things. Now, obviously, the production the numbers have dipped because obviously the rib injury is gonna. If you ever had a rib injury, right, you're not gonna want to run and get tattooed by linebackers, by cornerbacks. So
for sure.
Maybe he's sitting back and passing more. But again, it's like I just don't understand why there's that disconnect. Because like you have this young quarterback, you have this talent. Put into what he likes to do. Like what, look, and we can talk about his footwork. Maybe he needs work on that, but it's like, they're just doing a disservice by not building like big, like finding out what he likes to do, finding out like plays. And it's like, he's not a veteran quarterback. He's not like a Kirk Cousin where Kirk can go into any situation and go, I can run your playbook, give it to me. Like a Tom Brady. Tom Brady can go anywhere and do the same thing, right? You have these quarterbacks, but when they're this young and they're raw, give them the simple plays. Give them some scripted plays. Right? Look at Andy Reid. Andy Reid does that. Like his first like whatever I don't remember plays are scripted. But again, I know he has the best quarterback to do it, but he's always done that. Like he gets his quarterbacks comfortable in the game, and I just feel like the talent's being wasted right now in Chicago.
Well, do you feel like the situation where Caleb is just not being used in the right ways, or is this more so of what he is? And I was watching ESPN and had Dan Orlovsky on there. I think it was first thing. I think his first take. That's what it was.
Right.
Discussing how these are some of the same behaviors that he had before, as far as the fumbles, turnovers. They're about the same number. His numbers were very similar in college to kind of what they are now. So it's more of a continuation of the same, or is it just a lack of coordinators being able to get the best out of him and maybe clean up some of that stuff from college?
I mean, I think it might be a combination, right? I mean, I it just like when you're in college, like he had to be like last year, he had to be Superman, right? He had to do all these things because he did not have talent around him. Now you have you have talent around this guy. So put him in the best position. But so maybe it is he's reverting back to the situation because he doesn't feel like he doesn't have just the support around him. So he's like, oh well, I've got to go out there and I've got to make all these plays. And so and maybe he needs just a better coach, a better coordinator to help him with that. And I don't know. I hate judging somebody until I know what he is. Like now with Fields, I know what Justin Fields is now because I've seen him go to a better system. And I was like, okay, he is a backup quarterback. Like he may have better legs than Russell Wilson, but Russell Wilson is the guy in Pittsburgh, So but again, it took him to get to that situation. So that's my thing. Is like, let's find out. Let's get him just some better support around him and see what we got, because I'm still the jury's still out until he has that around him.
Well, also they are doing very similar to what they did last year. So I know at one point when they were 4-2, people thought corner had been turned. Caleb was tearing things up, and people felt like this is a new day for the Bears from an offensive perspective. And the slippers have seen them come off here the last few games.
Yeah,
and I think people are now second guessing that growth because when you look at where they were last year versus where they are this year, there are some stats where they're actually better last year than they are this year. And they have so much more talent this year than they had last year that you kind of question that because you're like, hey,
right.
they did go out and do some things. You guys should be doing a little bit better, but they're still got some games left. Caleb's still a kid. We got time to kind of turn it around, but I do think you are starting to run out of that time, especially for your boy Eberflus. Do you think he survives the year? You think he gets out of?
No.
Does he even? Does he? Okay, so two questions.
Yeah,
because my friend says the Bears don't typically fire coaches during the year. I don't know how true or not that is, but I don't like teams that fire coaches throughout the year. But is everybody here? Did you see on the screen, or is everybody here pretty much on the hot seat? Is it kind of just like, hey, all of you guys could be gone, or is it Poles safe and maybe Eberflus is not, or what is?
I think
your call?
Eberflus is like is the easy target, right? Because it's his play calling, right? It's who he's brought in. So and I've heard Kisbergy is going to be one of the top. Cliff. Oh my God.
Cliff Kingsbury.
I kept
you say that 3 times fast.
I know, right?
Cliff Kingsbury.
So, I mean, that would be the obvious pick, right? I mean, that'd be the easiest one for him to come in because, but I just you just watch some of the games and the coach seems lost. That's never a good
Wow,
sign.
lost. Goodness
Just some of the play
gracious.
calling and so you just I Poole, I think the GM probably, he's not going anywhere because he just built this team. He's like, dude, I gave you a good team. Why can't you produce?
Yeah, I agree. I at least think that we should be able to see what he does with these players, kind of like how Dimitrov stayed around here a little bit in Atlanta, before he finally got the axe, because of players he had supplied was pretty decent. And I think it was the same thing with why we kept our GM this time around too, when we let Arthur Smith go. I feel like he had drafted some pretty decent players. Now we just got to see some of those things kind of pay off here in Atlanta, and maybe Ryan Poles will get the chance to do the same thing there in Chicago. Let's move over to a little bit of basketball here. We'll close the show out with some basketball. Now the season's just getting started, and the season's not the only thing just getting started. Joel Embiid is also just getting started, because I think he literally just started his first games, about roughly 10 games into the season. And I think he started his first game, and the Philly hasn't been doing too well. What are they, 2-8? What are their record?
It's not good.
Great.
No, not good. Not good when when we kind of put them kind of in that number 3 kind of seed, right? We kind of thought, oh, this is going to be a good team. Now, again, it's early. It's only November.
They're in the 14th seed.
Yeah, that's not good.
Goodness gracious. It's not good.
No.
Not good. We're hanging in there at our usual 8 under 500 8 that we love to float around.
I love
we have bought
spot,
our
buddy.
real estate, man. We bought real estate there, man. That's what we've done. We've moved into the 8 spot, 9 spot,
right?
10th. You'll find us around there, play in territory. That's where you'll find the Hawks.
Yeah, we're not in that $1 million mansion. We're not in the below, but no, man. We're kind of we're in the starter home still situation, right, like we've always been.
The kids go to the schools. They just don't live in the same neighborhood. They may not live in the same neighborhoods, but they go to the same schools.
Same schools.
I'll tell you that.
It's getting the kind of the same thing with Joel, right? Just playing in shape every year. And you just wonder how much longer can he do it? Was he 29 this year?
Joel says that he's done too much for the city, man. He was having some issues. He got into it with a reporter. There was a quote about him saying that he's done too much for the city, for all the hate he gets. I'm kind of paraphrasing there, but that was kind of the quote, the kind of energy he was going with, because of some of the hate he was getting, I think, in local media there for missing the games and stuff like that. He's kind of just like, I'm trying to get healthy, or not, his perspective. But he is missing the games from the fans' perspective as well. I think there is some frustration warranted there.
Right, because he played the Olympics. I mean, he didn't have to.
The fans want to see that. The fans want to see you over there playing in the Olympics and not playing here at all.
Exactly. That's never a good sign. Because I think, if I'm not mistaken, everybody that's played in the Olympics besides him is currently playing in the NBA.
Yes. I don't recall any of them at least have started, even if they're not playing every game. They've at least been started. I think Joel is just getting started.
Right. So, I guess, what has he done for the city? MVP is that his? That's what we're saying he's done, right? I mean, what else?
I guess so. He said he's done a lot for the city, man.
Right. So, I don't know. I'm just slightly I'm really. I mean, now because you have Maxi's out, so you're obviously you're going to try and rely on him and Paul George. It's kind of like what I thought might happen, but I was like, I thought maybe this team would just be different. I thought it had a great offseason. I love the Paul George signing. Thought they had some good veterans. I just thought they had a good offseason. And it's just like, it's still all hinges on him. And who knows? Maybe this is a different conversation. Obviously, in February or March, when he's probably playing that MVP. But yeah, it's just, as a Sixers fan, you just got to be getting tired of the whole the kind of that Groundhog Day effect. Just again and again, the same thing happened over and over again.
Well, Embiid says that he has done way too much for the city to be treated like this, and he was talking about kind of the hate that he was getting and the criticism for not wanting to play. He went on to explain that he has put himself at risk for the city by playing through injuries. including broken fingers and a broken face twice. Embiid said, "I came back early with the risk of losing my vision." He did it for you, Philadelphia. He did it for you. That's what he's saying here, right? Yeah, I mean, that's what he's saying. I put it on the line for you, Philly. You don't love me. You don't love me sitting on the bench over here, Now, I feel like if you are, there's nothing more frustrating than having a great player in your city that is not playing, because it's got to be more frustrating than not having a great player at all. If you don't have a great player at all, then it is what it is. Your team's doing the best they can out there, even if they suck. They're just doing the best they can.
Exactly.
They're running that team out there. Having a great player that's sitting on a sideline, and you're seeing the guy in street clothes every time you you go out there with the buddies, the friends, the wife, the date, whatever you're going out there with. Your guy's not running up and down the court. It can be devastating, because it's kind of like that's going to devastate your team. Usually those players in these cap leagues are making a lot of money for a reason, and when they're not out there, it's a detriment not only to the play on the court, but to the salary cap, the payroll.
Yeah, and you just gave him an extension.
A significant one. A significant extension. He's making like $60 million a year or something like that.
Right.
Man, it's incredible.
And the thing is too, in baseball, like Bryce Harper, like he had a Tommy John surgery, and the guy was like, "Oh, he's not coming back until like July," and the dude comes back like in like I think it was March or April. It's like that's Philly fans. They love that. That's their guys that just come back and want to play for the city. That's they really. I mean, that's that city, man. So it's just, I enjoy Joel. He's a fantastic player, but just some guys just don't get it and they just have that tunnel vision and just don't understand why fans are upset, especially the city they're in.
Yeah, and I can get the frustration because these athletes are human, so I do get that it can be frustrating, especially if you feel like you are going through all kinds of rehab. Because I don't know if you've watched the rehab process for some of these athletes. It's incredibly looks mentally tough to have to go through. You're out there hoping that you don't re-aggravate and have to go through that mental tough process again for a whole nother year or something like that. So I know that part can suck, but it's not unreasonable for people to expect someone to do a job they're getting paid to do. It's just not unreasonable, and I don't think it's unfair. Like if you are injured and you can't play, then a lot of fans are looking at this like you would have been injured and couldn't have played 2 or 3 months ago.
Right.
And you were playing in Paris 2 or 3 months ago.
Playing
that's
well.
what people don't like. They don't like that. They look at that and they don't like the fact that these are the two things they're seeing. So you're going to get a little bit more fans being a little bit more upset, I think, because of the whole Olympic situation with this. And that adds on to just the actual frustration, because let's think about it. He missed his entire first season, didn't he? We could go back through we could do probably a good 10 to 15 minutes on this show just going through Joel Embiid's injury history. We really could. Yeah. We could just sit here and just knock out about a 10-minute segment of just going down this list of injuries that Joel Embiid's had. Because if I'm not mistaken, I feel like his career started with an injury. I feel like he didn't even play his first season.
He did play his first season. He was out his first season. You're absolutely right. It's not like Kawhi. Like Kawhi left the Olympics, and we knew he was starting the season. Like there's no way you look at Kawhi going leaving the Olympics.
And Kawhi's been able to put together some of those chips in that time too, right? That would have helped Joel Embiid's case a ton if he was able to have somehow in the time that he was playing put together a couple of chips here and there for the city. Then you forgive these sit downs, right? You sit down. You've delivered us a couple of championships. Have a seat. That's fine.
Yeah,
but that's the difference between him and like a Kawhi, right? Like Kawhi's delivered a couple of championships. You have not. That's gonna be it's gonna be an issue. It's gonna be an issue, and they're gonna be upset. And I don't see the fan, especially just like you just said too, especially in Philly. Let's not forget they booed Santa Claus. They will definitely boo you in Philly. They have no problems with it, and this is one of those kind of situations where I can't even blame. Like, how can you blame the city? How can you blame the city? It sucks. Let's close here on Inside the NBA, which I love. One of the best shows on television. from some reports have been said, because you know that TNT, this is the last year for NBA on TNT, and thus the last year for inside the NBA.
Right.
A lot of people have been getting mad at Adam Silver, getting mad at the NBA, Amazon, NBC. I think maybe ESPN is still in there taking over those rights. And there has been some talks I hear from like Amazon and some other places. At least there were some articles out there floating around on the net about them bringing that show over, which I think will be a great idea. What are your thoughts here on the possibility of it canceling here, which I'm hoping that it just doesn't. I've been dreading bringing it up because I'm hoping that it gets saved here somehow.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm Amazon, I just throw all the money because I have Amazon money. Why not just throw all the money?
Throw it. You got it, man.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I mean, Ernie's the only one I think is kind of like he's very loyal to TNT because his dad worked there. So I hear he's very loyal. So I think he might be the only one that didn't come along. But I mean, if you could just keep at least Kenny and Charles. I mean, I love
you need
Shaq.
2 out of the 4, man.
At least 2 out of the 4.
You needed 2 out of the 4 somewhere in there, right?
Right.
Even if you add 2 and put 1 or 2 with them, if you can at least do that, you're going to need at least a couple of guys, I'd imagine.
Right.
And I think you're right. Just even when you go to Kenny and Charles, that's just going in order of join. If you don't go Ernie, you're just going in the order like Shaq is the last to join. It was Kenny and Charles were on here for a significant amount of time before Shaq got on here. Right. So if you could get that would be a coup. By here, if that doesn't happen, then Charles Barkley will be open market. Say he could fetch up to about $20 million a year, depending on who locks him down if he decides to go somewhere.
Yeah, like I said, Charles, he's a smart guy, so he's gonna say things that are gonna like, oh, I'm retiring at the end of the year, and he's walked that back since, right? And he said, oh, maybe I'll stay with TNT and I'll do hockey, and it's one of those things like why it's like just why can't they still just do it on TNT? I mean, I don't need the games per se. They could just bring them in when the game's over. It's like I just don't. Maybe I guess maybe they would lose that because it's like now people have to switch over to another channel. But just Amazon, just throw money at them. Throw money at Charles and Charles just say who do you want to come? Because you're right, it's one of the best shows. Everyone has tried to emulate it and has got it all wrong. Like it's
the chemistry, man. It's the chemistry. I think it's very hard to emulate that chemistry and the length of time they've been on so long, Eugene. It's like just hard to just have somebody, even if you had them on, they would have to be on half the time. So it would take about 10 years for them to be on about roughly half the time. And to try to catch up with it, they've got such a head start. It's kind of like PTI when you look at Kornheiser.
Yes.
Right. They got such a chemistry head start on you that it's just difficult to replicate that.
Yeah. Even when you watch PTI, sometimes when they have when one guy's not out, I mean, it's not a bad show, but it's just not the same. Right. So
correct,
you got to at least bring 2 of the guys over. And if you can somehow Ernie, but I mean, if you can get somebody kind of that middle, because what Ernie's really good at is just like, okay, make your point, but let's move along. Like he's really good about, okay, let's get the stats, let's get the conversation going. And he's so you got to have someone that can kind of control the chaos because Ernie's really good at controlling the chaos, but he's also good about letting the chaos go. So it's like, you're going to have to find someone that can kind of move it along, but also kind of sit back and let the jokes happen because it's a moment and that's I think that's what makes the show go so great. It's like they make fun of each other, but they also have good basketball knowledge, and also they're not afraid to criticize players, and that is so hard because they're all former players, they're all former all-stars. I don't know if Kenny's a Hall of Famer, but I mean, right? But I mean, they're Hall of Fame championships, right? Right. So you have all that, and the cool thing is, it's like that's how it's like when somebody's not going back to coaching, like a coordinator or a coach, like Troy Aikman will never coach in the NFL because he criticizes quarterback because he played the position, so he criticizes him, but it's constructive criticism, and I think they're the same way. They get on these guys because they want them to perform better and be better players. And I just, like I said, it's one of those gems, and it's like, I think it'd be great for them to come at Amazon because not everyone gets to experience them being on TNT. So I think it just opened a whole new market for them, other than everyone catching the clips on Twitter, but it's not a bad thing. But I just think that would just open up to a whole new market of like, oh, Charles is really funny. Like, yeah, we know. We have known this for like the last 20 years. Kenny's pretty funny. Yeah, we know. Shaq's have some moments. Yeah, people, we all know this, but not everyone kind of knows what they do, you know?
Well said, my friend. This is Just the Stats. Check us out, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you find your podcast. See you next time, ladies and gents.